Welcome, everyone. We'll get started in another minute once everyone connects to audio. We have one more person joining.
Can you hear me? This is Claire.
We can hear you, Claire.
I can hear you.
Great. All right. So it looks like everybody has mostly joined and connected to audio, so I think you can get started. James, oh, Bonnie, it looks like you're on mute.
I am, I apologize. So welcome everyone, I'll start again. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful deck night. We appreciate that you chose this gathering. And maybe some of you are on your deck, so I shouldn't make assumptions, but thanks for joining us. This is a meeting just so everyone's sure where they're at for the West Central Vermont Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. Do you all want to do a very quick round of who you are and if you're associated with an organization or you're an interested participant who came to see what it's about? Could we do that? And I will very quickly just call out names so that everyone has an order. And I'll start with, I'm Bonnie Waninger. I'm the Executive Director of the Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission. Jamie Stewart.
Hi, I'm Jamie Stewart. I'm the Executive Director of Central Vermont Economic Development Corporation. We are working in this process in close collaboration with the Planning Commission and looking forward to hearing what you folks have to add to the conversation.
Thank you. Cynthia Powers.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Powers. I am the president of the board of Orange County Parent Child Center. And we were having a meeting today and it was suggested that I join your organization to see how things were being done and help you with anything you might want to know about our new project in Randolph.
Thank you, Cynthia. Dottie? Whoops, Dottie, you may need to unmute yourself.
Sorry about that.
There you go.
Better? Okay. I'm Dottie Guifrey and I'm on the Roxbury Planning Commission, and I'm interested in the idea of economic development in all of Vermont's communities, especially rural ones.
Thank you. Rich?
Hi, good evening. Rich Turner. I'm the chair of the Williamstown Planning Commission and also on the Board of Commissioners with Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission. So very interested in the topic. I do have another meeting I'm going to be hitting before the end of this one, so I may be juggling a little bit. So welcome.
Thank you, Rich. Brian?
I'm Brian Kravitz, the Development and Outreach Director at Central Vermont Adult Basic Education. And, I think that education plays a very big part in economic development, especially there's a direct correlation between poverty and education levels. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Amanda?
The cat bomb. Good evening, everyone. My name is Amanda Carlson. I work at Capstone Community Action as a project manager, and I'm representing transportation issues at Capstone.
Thank you, Amanda. Gretchen?
Hello, my name is Gretchen DeHart. I work for the Community College of Vermont. I'm a regional director there, and I serve the North Central region, which encompasses Montpelier, St. Johnsbury, Morrisville, and Newport.
Thank you, Gretchen. Representative Jessup.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kimberly Jessup, and I live in Middlesex. I represent Middlesex and East Montpelier in the Vermont House. I serve on the House Appropriations Committee, and we have been, like all of you, trying to sort through all the incoming federal stimulus dollars. And so I welcome hearing what your thinking is about all of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Cody.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Cody Morris. I'm the Executive Director of Barry Area Development. We are a nonprofit economic development corporation serving the town of Barry and city of Barry.
Thank you. Alyssa.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alyssa Johnson. I work for the Vermont Council on Rural Development on economic and community development across the state. And I'm also the chair of the Planning Commission in Waterbury, but mostly I used to work on economic development and I'm here as a resident.
Thanks, Alyssa. Nice to see you in this role as well. Lindsay.
Hi, Lindsay Budnick, Senior Director of Development at Norwich University.
Thank you, Lindsay. Carl.
Good evening. I'm Carl Rogers, the Barry Town Manager. Town of Barry owns the land in the Wilson Industrial Park that is available for sale and for development. And I guess that's my interest in tonight's meeting.
Thanks, Carl. Margaret?
Good evening. I'm Margaret Ferguson and I work at Capstone Community Action. I'm a business counselor. I help people start or expand their businesses with Capstone, and I'm always looking to network with everybody else who's trying to do the same thing. Thanks.
Thank you. Lauren?
Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren Hurl. I'm on the Montpelier City Council, and great to be with you all.
Thank you. Mark?
Hello, I'm Mark Emilio. I'm the Economic Development Director with the Revitalizing Waterbury. Great to connect with everybody tonight.
Peter? Oops, Peter just disappeared. If he comes back, we'll link him on. Is it Keziah?
It's Keisha. Hi, nice to meet everyone.
I apologize.
I'm a remote tech worker, recent transplant from Austin, Texas, pre-pandemic. I'm here as an individual. I live in Chelsea.
Thank you, Keisha. Jim, whoops. Yes, Jim Alvarez.
Hi, I'm Jim Alvarez. I'm with Central Vermont Medical Center. I'm just interested in discussion this evening.
Thank you, Jim. Mayor Herring.
Yeah, Mayor Lucas Herring from the city of Barry, and I too will not be able to stay for the full meeting. We have a planning commission meeting tonight, so looking forward to hear the conversation while I can stay here though.
Okay, thank you. Chris?
Hi, everyone. Chris Damiani, transit planner with Green Mountain Transit.
Thank you. Michelle?
Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Kersey with Downstreet Housing and Community Development and a resident of Montpelier.
Thanks, Michelle. Lori?
Hi, everyone. It's Lori Augustiniak, and I work with the Cabot Community Association.
Great. Thanks, Lori. And Peter Carby? Peter, we cannot hear you, so I'm going to go to very quick introductions of our staff and supporting team for this, and then I'll come back to you one more time. Dawn?
Hi, I'm Dawn Magnus. I'm the Assistant Director at Central Vermont Economic Development Corporation.
Thank you. Elena?
Yeah.
I'm Elena Yudishis. I'm an Assistant Planner at Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission.
Thank you. Claire?
Hi, my name's Claire Rock, and I'm a planner at Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission.
And Christian?
Hey, Christian Meyer here, transportation planner with CVRPC.
Thank you. And Sarah, would you mind introducing yourself? Then I'll go to Peter.
Sure, I'm Sarah Audet. I'm the principal at Hedgehog and Fox Collaborative.
And Peter Carby, can you hear us? All right, so Peter Carby is with the town of, lives in Washington, and he's also a member of the CVRPC board. Thank you all for introducing yourself. I wanted you to get a sense of who you are tonight. And as Jamie mentioned, The Central Vermont Regional Planning Commission and Central Vermont Economic Development Corporation are collaborating on this effort. So we're a joint economic initiative. CVRPC mainly works with municipalities and obviously some of our regional partners, and CVEDC primarily focuses on the business community, but also works with other regional partners and municipalities on economic development issues. I wanted to quickly run through the agenda this evening. And Sarah, do we put up the presentation or do you?
You put up the slides.
Thank you. So let me pull that up in a screen share real quick.
And while you're doing that, Bonnie, just so everybody knows, Sarah is our Zoom guru for this meeting. So if you're having difficulty, have a question, then feel free in the chat to send her a message. I hope that's okay, Sarah, to tell them that.
Absolutely. Would you like me to do the technical introductions still, Bonnie?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. Yes, so as Jamie said, certainly if you run into audio issues, you're welcome to send me a direct message in the chat. I'll also post the call-in information to the chat in a few moments. So if you have audio issues, you have another way to connect. As with most virtual meetings that you've been attending as of late, please keep yourself muted. If you have a question during the presentation, you're welcome to click the raise hand button and I will call on you, or you can post your question to the chat and I'll ask on your behalf. Tonight's meeting includes machine-generated transcriptions appearing on your screen. It's important to acknowledge the limitations of automatic speech recognition. The accuracy is not guaranteed. Accuracy depends on many variables, including background noise, volume, and clarity of the speaker's voice. Regrettably, only English is supported, and some lexicons and dialects specific to a geography or a community may not be understood by the machine. We look forward to the further development of this technology so that all voices, languages, lexicons, and dialects are included and accessible by all. And one final note, tonight's meeting is being recorded. The recording, audio transcript, and slides will be available at the West Central Vermont CEDS website. I'll be sure to share the link in the chat. The breakout rooms will also be recorded for staff use and are available upon request. And I'll hand it back to Bonnie.
Thanks, Sarah. And I will just note I'm having a technical glitch. So Jamie, if you're able to take it at this moment instead of me, that would be great.
Sure. Let me just give you a brief overview of why we're doing this. The CEDS acronym stands for Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, and it is a very specific process that is prescribed by the Economic Development Administration. Bonnie, does this mean you're back on?
I'm only on partially. So
Okay,
if you can keep going.
I'll keep going.
Thanks.
The steps that we're going to take tonight are going to help inform a larger document. We are working collaboratively with Rutland County, Addison County, Chittenden County, and the Central Vermont region to develop a CEDS that will cover that portion of the state. As it currently stands, the other portions of the state already have gone through this process, completed this process. We are the final portion of the state to do this work. And ultimately, the goal is to have a document that helps really guide future development programs, resources, and efforts, so that we are attempting to do things that are supported by the regional community base. That we are not dictating what will be done, but that we are in fact listening and understanding what the people in our community find are important, and then helping direct the programs and the efforts going forward to address those needs.
Thanks, Jamie. I think I can jump in if you're good.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, great. So we often use the acronym CEDS. It stands for Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. And what is that? It's a strategy-driven plan for regional economic development. And that basically reverses the words. But the idea is that we all come together, we look at our data, we look at for those who haven't heard the acronym SWOT, our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And tonight we're going to take a little bit of a variation on that and do something called a SOAR. And together we build a strategic direction with priorities that we can all support and that we work together on to implement in the future. This means that municipalities and other entities might also have their own priorities that they pursue, but that together we've pointed ourselves in a direction and said, these are the ones we really need to work on collectively to move our economy along. And then also as part of the CEDS, we develop an evaluation framework or indicators. How do we know we're succeeding? And then because we're doing this in the framework of the US Economic Development Administration, we also look at economic resilience. How do we together make ourselves adapt to and leverage the changes that happen through time instead of a static economic initiative that COVID comes along and suddenly our priorities are wrong. They don't match what's happening in the economy at the time and what our business communities, municipalities, and our residents need to move forward. So economic resilience is helping us create that bounce factor. Jamie mentioned, why do we write a CEDS? To make sure we have our shared goals, we've identified our challenges and our economic strengths, to coordinate and collaborate among organizations and businesses. But you should also know that more and more the state and the federal agencies are using these kinds of documents to shape priorities for their awards. So we're telling them by the end of this what our priorities are in Central Vermont, but also in the greater West Central Vermont region, those 4 regions combined, so that their funding starts looking at our priorities and saying, this matches with us, we want to fund that one. So the state is intending to use this in grant programs like community development block grants, Northern Borders Regional Commission, and the ARPA priorities, the American Rescue Plan priorities that are coming up. So this is very much something we would like to focus on and move us all towards the same direction. The CEDS schedule, just to let you know, the team has been working on research and data analysis, and I'll talk about that team, but Jamie referred to them, for the past 3 to 6 months to try and look at some of that data and figure out what's the most critical areas we think we need to address that the data tells us. Tonight, we're doing a check-in with all of you. That's the SWAT SOAR engagement. Through the winter, we'll be developing draft text for the CEDS, working on priorities. And then in the spring of next year, and you're feeding into those priorities tonight, the spring of next year, we'll bring that back to you. Did we get it right? Is this the information we really want? What did we miss? And then finally, in the summer of 2022, we'll have that final document for ourselves and for our agencies, and all of us will begin integrating it into our various planning and development initiatives. Jamie referred to the strategy committee. Who are we? We're the regional planning commissions and the regional development corporations of those 4 areas: Central Vermont, Chittenden County, Addison County, and Rutland County. And then the Agency of Commerce and Community Development is participating as a supporting agency. If you haven't seen it yet, Ken Jones from the Department of Economic Development has a great presentation about COVID's impacts on the economy. Our board found it really useful, as did this particular strategy committee. Jamie, to you.
Got to remember to unmute. So as part of this process, one of the first steps we did was to try to develop a SWOT analysis of the region: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, we're not going to take the time to fully go over all of the things we put in here. I'll highlight a few. We will be sending out the SWOT report analysis that we did for you to review. What is critical to understand is that not just tonight, but going forward and as we are developing it, we are actively seeking your input. So as we go through the conversations today, we'll be capturing that information, But this is by far not the only opportunity you have to input and provide your feelings, needs, desires for the region. And that's really the point of this process, is it's not just looking at what we have done right or wrong, where we're strong and where we're weak, but really with more of an eye of what are those opportunities that we have and where are the threats. So we've broken it up into a number of different major categories. The first one being workforce and education. And within the strengths, we understand that workforce and education, we've always had a high quality of workforce in the state of Vermont. But at the same point, we know today that the weakness is that we don't have enough workforce to even fill the jobs that we have because of skill gaps and because of bodies available for those jobs. And we know that that's going to lead to an opportunity to support different aspects of ways to grow that workforce. Like, I think this is key for a lot of people, we did identify immigration. We have heard from a variety of different folks in coming at it from different directions of a very strong level of support in the state of Vermont for increased immigration, both of people from other parts of the US, but also international immigration, hosting immigration populations in the state. And the threats are very simply that we have a variety of rural and with Chittenden County, particularly in this process, some more urban centers. And the differences in the needs in that workforce are very varied depending on which part of the state that you're working with. Business climate, innovation, and entrepreneurship is another category. And again, we do well in Vermont in incubating businesses. We don't do as well potentially at helping them get to that second and third stage of growth, but it obviously creates some real opportunities. We have to admit that because of the way that the state of Vermont has dealt with COVID, that we have gotten a lot of national recognition, which is bringing people here to Vermont because they want to be part of this community, this society. And that is means that we're also seeing people that are starting businesses in Vermont as they're relocating and reestablishing themselves. And historically, we've always been particularly good at some levels of innovation and entrepreneurship support, but there are certainly a number of different reasons why we have opportunities to build on that. Infrastructure, I know that we have some municipal representatives here and the legislative representative. We all know that there are infrastructure needs. We'll be working closely with a variety of groups. And again, this is something where I think it's fair to say that the Regional Planning Commission is very well suited to identify those types of infrastructure projects. But it goes on beyond just the simple roads and bridges and talking about things like affordable housing stock. And that's workforce housing as well as housing, subsidized housing needs. Accessibility, access to amenities. There is a variety of things. And again, in infrastructure, and I guess I'm a little reminded of the conversation that's going on in Washington today. For our purposes, we don't want to limit infrastructure just to roads and bridges. Infrastructure, the human capital infrastructure. So things like workforce development comes into its own category, but at the same point, how do we support that workforce? Childcare has been front and center in mind for a lot of people, particularly during the pandemic, but pre-pandemic, that was a real issue, concern. But it is a critical piece of the infrastructure we need to be able to support our businesses and our employees. Quality of life, and that's something that we are all very proud of in the state of Vermont. And how do we maintain that quality of life that we so dearly love, while at the same time providing opportunities for business development and growth. And then civic governance systems, thinking about, and understanding that at the front side of this, we're very lucky in the state of Vermont. We have access to our politicians. We have access to our administration. We have access to our local folks. There is an ability to connect and work with, and how can we identify those things within the governance systems that can be improved to make an even better situation than where we are today. And I think we all have something there to be very proud of. Land use, natural resources, the conserved lands, natural resources that we have, and how we continue to maintain and protect those going forward. And again, that ties back to the quality of life. And if in fact we can get through all of those in the breakout sessions, we are going to utilize the SOAR process, which is similar to the SWOT, but is just more aspirational driven. All right, we're really going to look for you to come to us and focus on what we can be doing that will make the threats less of a threat, to make the opportunities more robust, and to ultimately to get us to that point that we want to be, and to be able to actually, as Bonnie said, be able to measure that in the process that we're making progress and taking those steps. So I think, is that you, Bonnie, or am I doing that?
I did that. I wasn't
Okay.
sure if you.
No,
went
I'm done.
All right,
sorry,
I
yes,
just
I'm-
didn't keep up with you. So I
Okay.
apologize. So Jamie's talked about the SWOT a bit. You're familiar with strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You don't need to read that. We're talking about SOAR. He's referred to that, what strengths we can build on, what's our community asking for, how can we leverage, what do we want to achieve, and how do we know we're succeeding? Those are the questions we're going to ask you tonight around the topics that Jamie mentioned, the discussion areas for the breakout. We're going to assign you randomly. We're not going to assign by topic area. You gave us your interest, your top interest in advance if you signed up on the web. And we found that we had a mix of people and thought it might be a better approach to mix everybody together so we hear each other's ideas. So Sarah's going to assign us randomly as we go. We're going to be in our breakout rooms for at least 40 minutes. We're going to use the SOAR questions, but you'll see a 5-minute warning come across our screen so that we know we're approaching the end. And then you'll automatically be sent back to the full group where we'll do some report outs. If you're experiencing any technical difficulties as we transition in, please let Sarah know. And Sarah, I guess I wanted to check. I'm going to stop the presentation because I'm seeing things in the SOAR and I can't get to that, or in the SOAR, I'm sorry. Seeing chat. Sorry, those were just directed at me. Good to know. There's a few questions. And I see one after Sarah's. Brian asked if the PowerPoint will be made available. Yes, it'll be on the West Central Vermont CEDS website, and we'll give you that address at the end. And I see Sarah answered that. So she's keeping up with that. Sarah, if you need me, let me know. All right, then I think, are there any questions before we jump into our breakout groups? We're hoping to spend the majority of our time tonight there. All right, I'm not seeing any hands. If you haven't Zoomed, many of you have, down at the bottom of the screen, there's a button called reactions. You can use it to raise a hand or otherwise express things if you don't want to express them verbally, to echo someone's comment or something like that. All right, Sarah, I think we are ready to break out.
So in a moment, you will see a prompt on your screen asking you to join a breakout room. Please accept this invitation. I'll remind our facilitators to start recording the breakout groups once they reach their room and to save their chat at the conclusion of the breakout sessions. So just now open the rooms and you should be seeing an invitation to join a breakout group on your screen. Feel free to send me a chat if that's not the case.
All right. Sarah, are we all back?
Yes, it appears that everybody's back and connected.
Great. Thank you all.
And Sarah, just really quickly, because I don't want to get this lost, for these sessions, I stopped my recording, correct?
Exactly. All of
And
the
then it'll ask me to, okay, and it'll ask me to save. All right, thank you. Sorry.
And I did not stop mine. It'll still ask me to save, right?
It will, yes.
Thank you very much, Sarah. That's why we need Sarah to keep us on track with our Zoom breakouts. Great. All right, so coming back, our facilitators or anyone they asked, we're going to give just some highlights from the session. And I don't have a script in front of me. So Jamie, do you want to start? That was one of my technical glitches tonight.
No, and I'm sitting here trying to figure out how to save this, and that's my technical glitch because it didn't ask me to save it. And I hope I didn't just lose it. So I'm sure it's somewhere. So I'm sorry, Bonnie, what was that?
Summary of your breakout group.
I think that probably the key is just understanding that, we were identifying some of the areas I think that we're all aware of, but we did have a couple of new areas that came out. One of them being that daycare has been an issue and everybody understands that need. But one of the things we discussed that I don't think we had previously discussed was elder daycare with the aging population and the need for families to have facilities, services for elder care, and how that will impact how many people are we losing in the workplace because now they're having to take care of aging parents or siblings. Or if it's just daycare for developmental issue people. So having that system as well as we're looking at daycare for children, that we need to look across the entire spectrum. And I found that very interesting. We talked about some of the real opportunities that were there in looking at the different workforces and the need to match the workforce training to the skills that are in demand. But really, we've got people that are coming to the state because of COVID and being able to utilize those folks. That's wonderful. But even more importantly, for the folks that we have here, how do we get them to get training, get education beyond that, where we're really good at getting them through high school? How do we get more of them involved in further education? And how do we create those opportunities? And really that's looking towards a system that really allows people to reach their full potential and provide the income streams that are necessary for the quality of life that we are all enjoying. Right? I think, I don't know, do I ask people in my group if there are any other high points that they want to add? Is that allowed? You're shaking your head yes, so Bonnie said yes. So if I missed anything major in that, Elena, you've got the notes there. Is there anything key that you think I missed that we should point out?
I think you touched on a lot of it.
And again, because folks, I'm sure it was true in the other groups, we're trying to cover a lot of areas in a relatively small amount of time. So I think we could, all of these areas we could go a lot deeper in.
Dawn, did you have a group?
Yes, we ended up going pretty highly focused on workforce and education. Same concept, a lot of what people know, quality childcare equals quality home life, which equals comfort and higher quality of life with, stable feelings in all departments, including your actual job. We talked about that quite a bit. And then we also went into just kind of the discussion of dual enrollment programs as well, and the higher education component, targeting all students. It's designed to target the dual education and dual enrollment with colleges and tech centers, especially the fence sitters and folks who come from either first generation or lower income families that maybe aren't aware that there are other ways to work around the cost of tuition, by showcasing that availability and that it actually can be affordable if you dual enroll. So we talked about that, and workforce scaling with climate commitment that Vermont has. The opportunities there being training and retraining people who are in more traditional fuel and energy realms right now, and what that could do, which would of course be keeping people's jobs as jobs. Even with the change in type of job, they're still employed because they've been able to be retrained. So a theme that kind of went through all of our conversations is the need for training and outreach, with the end result often being retaining, attracting and retaining Vermonters to the area and keeping them here. That was a huge result of all the conversation. A big component we also talked about was the both quality jobs and the need for living wages for people to feel good about those quality jobs, and make them actually feel like quality jobs. While all, you can have all the other components of it being a good workplace fulfilling, but if it's not paying all of the bills, then it can be not very enticing for people to get into, especially the more labor related fields as opposed to office jobs. And especially with the retiring workers in so many categories, that is going to only increase in its problematic component. We talked about that kind of outreach as well for both local and on more national levels, the concept of having more national facing opportunities for various types of jobs with various types of training, and maybe industry specific, something, or just more all encapsulating like an AmeriCorps, but for Vermont only. And there was a discussion of perhaps some sort of enticement could be a contest of, presented via Vermont for a national idea of solving a problem here and getting people who, like to solve problems and who like to enter contests to participate, and perhaps there's a monetary and a small reward of some sort of stay in Vermont, something like that. But those are the kind of creative ideas that need to be talked about, and that's what we ended up talking about quite a bit. That should do it.
Thank you, Dawn. Christian, did you?
Sure, happy to present for the group. And I hope they will jump in if they feel something can be expanded on, or if I don't state it quite as clearly as they did. So I'm going to kind of merge some of the themes here across the major questions, looking at the education and the workforce. It was viewed as an asset that we are a highly educated state, but the flip side of that is the opportunity to make sure everybody has the potential to move into a new career or direction, or acquire those educational resources they might be pursuing. Under strength, we said, well, there's some great programs out there. And this applies to the business and workforce. There are great programs and NGOs that'll help businesses get started, or workers go back and learn extra skills, but there might be an opportunity to improve publicity and make sure that everybody in all parts of the states realizes that some of these opportunities are available to them. The aspiration would be that anyone coming out of high school knows the full breadth of their opportunities, whether it's not just college, but also the trades or other fields. And as a result, a common theme was looking at how do we measure some of these how do we measure this in a way that takes into account these sort of soft ideas of how do you feel your opportunities are, their longitudinal studies, et cetera. And those same themes from education carried over into workforce and economic development. So I think that was just a common thread throughout our conversations. Was there's a strong base, there's an opportunity to expand the communication on it, and we aspire, that everyone will be aware of those opportunities.
Great. Thank you, Christian. For the group I was involved in, we started talking about water, sewer, infrastructure, those kinds of pieces as necessary for business as well as public life, but that the cost of development. We often see, I think Cody put it as, we need to respond to our employers, that the cost of development affects the private development, but it also affects the public development when we talk about affordable housing, especially the fee structures, and how we eventually morphed into a discussion of how do we address development when there is resistance to development? How do we help people understand the, I'll use my own words here, development creates jobs, people work jobs, development then succeeds, and there's income all around. It's a cycle, if you will. How do we get the message out? How do we help people understand that development and jobs are partnerships? We talked quite a bit about the American Rescue Plan Act and how it may or may not help us move forward with things like childcare. Sorry, but broadband especially was a big focus for us, and figuring out how to make it, how to deploy it, but also how to make it accessible. So there's the hardware component. There's the line component of getting it to you, the hardware component of things like computers and devices. And then there's the service component. You can hold a device in your hand, but if you can't be connected because you can't afford it or something along those lines, you have broadband, but you really don't have it. And Representative Jessup and Michelle talked about a model where buildings are fit up for service. The best I can explain it as is the concept of a Wi-Fi hotspot building wide, so that when we have affordable housing projects, everybody has service by virtue of living there. And there are some stumbling blocks, but that's a good aspiration for the future. And then our communication union districts and how they might be supported, and training and development and the support they need to ramp up and launch service. I'm missing something. There was an aspiration related to the Winooski River needing attention. We have this wonderful resource. How do we use it both from a quality of life, but also as a springboard into economic development? And I'm hoping that's what you meant. So if I missed items, could my group please step in? We wondered a bit in our discussion because we were a small group and could. Sarah, or were there other groups? Were we 4 groups total in the end?
Yes, you've covered all the groups.
Great. Thank you all. And Jamie, I'm going to need you to jump back and close us out, I think. I'm gonna share actually, I think I can do this and share a screen, see if my technical pieces continue to work. So we want to thank you all for participating tonight. Both CVEDC and CVRPC. Our partnership in this is one that marries planning and development and recognizing that you start by knowing what you want. That's what we're trying to get to through the CEDS process. And then once you know what you want, you work it through to implementation. And that ends up in Jamie's court with helping those businesses succeed, helping those municipalities put infrastructure on the ground, and helping all our service providers work with individuals who want and need to link with jobs that fulfill them, which is what Dawn's group was talking about in there. For moving into the future, we're going to use this information to start building the CEDS, to flesh out the SWOT, and now with the STORE, start looking to the future. I'm showing you the website, www.westcentralvermont.org. You can feed us additional information through that website. There's a form through there. From here, we're moving into developing more of the CEDS itself, but look for some additional group opportunities in late August and September. We'll be knocking on your doors and asking you, should we talk to your group? Should we talk to other groups? Engagement isn't about one meeting, it's about an ongoing conversation. And for us, that'll be over the next couple of months to make sure we've gathered all the information we can before we start really drafting strategies or thinking about priorities. And as I mentioned earlier, by next winter, we're expecting to release a draft CEDS and hope that you'll provide us feedback on that document as well. Jamie, what have I missed that I can't see?
There is one thing that came up in our group that I just want to let everybody here know. In the maps that you saw that we displayed of the CEDS region and of our region, they did not include the 3 towns of Orange, it was noted, that are part of it. Just so you're aware, our demographic information, everything will in fact include, oh, they're there.
They're there. They're on the map.
Yep, okay. But just so it is not just Washington County, it will be all of the territories that are covered for the RPC. But after that, folks, just thank you very much for participating tonight. Please stay engaged. Please continue to reach out. Use whatever opportunities you have to talk to other people to gather this information so you can bring it back to us. We really rely on you to help us make sure that we get this right. And at the end of the day, we want a document that everybody can feel good about, that feel that they've had a chance to have input in, and that it truly reflects the needs and desires of the people in this region.
Great. Do any of you have any comments you'd like to share before we close out tonight? And not seeing any hands or movement, please have a lovely evening. Thank you very much for joining us. And it's still daylight out there, so you could still have more deck night. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Good to
Bye-bye.
see you, Alyssa.
And